It's my first interview. Hey everybody, welcome to One Side of the Coin. I'm Mack-Attack, and here with me I have...
Colin.
Amazing. So, we've been doing interviews. It's the first one I've done. A little nervous. It's alright. We've been doing player interviews before the upcoming championship for this weekend. I want to talk a little bit about that. Toronto, the Genesis Championship is coming up. I don't even know what else to say about it. It's championship. We've been talking about it for weeks now. Very exciting event. Everyone is looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a 2-day event, so hopefully we won't run into the same issue last year where games were sort of going really quick and we had a slow start last year because many people get signed up and there was some confusion on their end.
Mm-hmm.
So having the 2-day tournament, I imagine, will be a great stress reliever for time-wise. Like, no one has to worry about, okay, we need to finish in like 5 minutes or something like that. Since last year, if I remember, we didn't start till like 11 or noon, was it?
Yeah,
just because there were some issues.
Yeah. Having it be a one-day event last year was kind of crammed, but it gives it time. Like it spreads it out a bit over the 2 days. The first day is pretty much cutting down to top 16, and then day 2 is top 16.
Yeah,
and they're gonna finish it that way. Both days there are some side events. I'm not too sure which ones. I believe there's a sealed going on the one day.
There's a seal. I believe there's an Origins draft, and I think a lot of the first day has the versus the creators kind of events where you can play against one of the creators. And I guess.
Oh yeah.
And it sounds like you win aura, and by winning aura, you can spend it on like a shop there.
Mm-hmm.
Which they also have they'll give you 50 aura if you come up being dressed in a costume. And for reference, that's a lot of aura for the shopping events.
Yeah, right. Alrighty, well, let's get into some of these questions. These are just a few that Dad wrote down for me to ask because I had nothing. Likes and dislikes for the upcoming championship. What you're excited
about the championship, the cards?
Championship. I guess just all together. I mean, like, what you're most excited for, what you're not really,
I'm definitely excited for playing again, and like I said, having more time to be able to play this year than last year. As well as, I'm looking forward to not having another 23-hour day, where last year that was how long from the whole way there and back, and by the end of it, that was rough.
Yep. Yeah, driving home last year, I stayed awake the whole day. I'd sleep in the car on the way up there, and I wanted to. Dad was making me film. And so on the way home, it was like vision was fuzzed. I was so tired and so sleep deprived. I was like,
It was even worse for me because I had to catch the GO train to get back, but the Genesis tournament ran late, so I had to rush to get back, and then only to remember that they were doing construction on the GO train, so I had to find the bus terminal instead to get to the leave Toronto to go to a different spot where they would transfer me onto the train, and in all that confusion, I ended up missing my original place. I had to stay for like 1 o'clock. I think I got out of the station. So yeah, looking forward to not having to repeat any instance like that.
It's okay. I was just told that Dad's leaving at like 7 a.m. I'm like, I really hope I do not have to leave at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
that is going to be painful.
I think I have to catch my train there at 7:45 because I want to get there for 9 just so I can walk there from the station. But
so early.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be early, but yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. I'm also excited to see all the new faces because remember last year a lot of people were like from Heads and Tails who were in the top. So I can't wait to see new faces and see what they bring to the table.
Especially since now Genesis has grown so much over the past year. It's like now we have a huge community from overseas. Right?
Yeah.
Like there's so many people coming from like the States and Germany and that, right? So I mean, well, States isn't overseas, but I mean, still a travel up, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, coming over from Germany, that's gonna be it's gonna be great. Great to see a bunch of new faces playing.
Yeah, and I mean, And before I even decided to go on the train, I was looking at booking like a place, say like a motel or Airbnb or a hotel, and a lot of places were booked up around it. So that's pretty exciting news to see that people are all raring to go. I bet some are already in Canada now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Since we're what now? 2 days.
2 days away.
Yeah, 2 days
Less
away.
than that.
Yeah.
I
So
wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want to be playing a whole tournament right after a long flight.
yeah, right. Since we had already mentioned them, what do you think about the side events?
They look really fun and interesting. I'm worried that the same issues can happen as last year, where I didn't get to play a lot of them solely because they were happening at the same time as the main tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of my games I know went really late. So the issue was by the time I was finished one game, it was pretty much, or like one match, it was like, all right, time to start the next match. There wasn't any time to go try any side events or anything like that, which I'm hoping I'll be able to do this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's always nice to, not only play in like the big tournament, but have, an experience to play in those like, other events with, again, some new faces who are coming up and all that, right?
Yeah, I think there was like a PV player versus everyone tournament or something they were going to try out this year. It sounded like more like an RPG thing or something with the cards. I don't know any details. I'm just going off completely what I saw online.
Player versus one person. I think we tried that. I think it was like a D&D kind of looking thing. There was like 4 of us playing against like one person. And yeah, it's like we had to go through all these like different rooms and summons were being flipped and we had to fight them to get through and all that. And it was...
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely was. I've been talking with Dad, and I'm still set on trying to figure out how Chess would work. I am set on doing this.
On doing what?
Chess. We made a joke the one day because I'm like, oh, like, what if we made, like, because it kind of looks like chess and move the pieces around, right? So I'm like, what if we did have a setup like a chessboard? And then we called it Chess.
So what would be the pawns represented by?
2 cheese.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like certain cards would represent each part of the chessboard, so it'd be like pale foxes all
Well, I
represent
thought
the
like
pawns.
fire cubs for the pawns, right? I guess it depends on like, well, you'd have like your champion, right, and then 2 on each side, and then all your pawns would be the same, right? So I guess it depends on who you're playing, but it's like your champions in the middle, 2 cheese, and then I forget what the other ones were.
Yeah, I guess the best way to do it to make it more customizable, like a card game, is you can make it so like all pawns have to be 3 chi cards.
Mm-hmm.
Cards like bishops are 4 chi, rooks are 5 chi, knights are 6 chi.
Yeah,
and then have the queen
that.
like being 8 or 7 chi.
Yeah. Or even the champion, right? Because you gotta have a champion.
Well, the champion would be the king for sure.
Yeah. Yep, I'm still set on trying to figure that out. On the topic of champions, prediction of yours as to what champion is going to win or could win.
Prediction? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. Like last year, it seemed to be a lot more solidified in what to expect. This year, everyone seems to be prepping for everything, which admittedly is what I kind of did last year because I had no idea about the meta last year.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it's going to be way more varied. Sounds like some people are concerned that there are going to be a lot of mimics similar to the decks that were last year. But I don't know. I feel like we'll end up being surprised again. I think it's going to be like a out of nowhere champion again this year.
Yeah, especially with having all the new ones in too, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have all of those last year. And now? Oh. Thought they were just leaving completely, but nope, apparently they're coming back. Anyway.
They've abandoned you.
They've abandoned me, I can't believe
What will you do without them?
Just sit here, I guess. Going off of that pause was so funny. Talking about, new stuff coming in, such as the champions and that. Phage was introduced this year.
Sorry, what again?
Well, Phage, the green.
Yeah, Phage.
That's new. How do you think Phage will do? How do you think it'll work in the championship?
I'm very hesitant because I feel like I really like Phage and the cards in it, but I just feel like it doesn't have enough, not necessarily support around it, but like any like I was looking at it for a while, and I felt like all the builds were so specific that there wouldn't be anything really. There was no like surprise eyes with a card. There was no like flair you could add to it that would surprise the opponent.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because Phage is so new, and hopefully once another set comes by where Phage has more support in it, then that make it so there's a lot more variety.
I'm gonna toss in a question that's not on the paper because
that's fine.
Who needs that?
I'm not even reading the paper.
Right. How many people, on an estimate, do you think will be playing a Phage champion?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like Essa is going to be the champion with the 3 energy reduction is going to be popular, but and Ulta is another one I kind of expect, but I don't really expect a lot of people playing Iblis or what was the other one? Yeah, but so I don't know. Maybe I want to say between 4 to 6. Right to guess out of the 64.
Pretty small handful, then, yeah.
Well, like I said, I don't really think there's like a consistent. These are the top cards everyone's sort of expecting to play against. So I feel like it's going to be a lot more diverse. So you kind of got to prep for everything, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about Phage, but I mean, going on like just new champions in general, I think a lot of people are going to be playing the new ones over the old ones. Just because it's like, well, they're new. We haven't seen them for long, right? They haven't been out for like a long time yet. They're wanting to experiment and all that, but they're not looking at the older ones and the potential that they have in comparison to the new ones.
Yeah,
right? This is not a hint to anything.
There's definitely that kind of like balance, because on one hand you got to remember that I'm not sure if it's going to be more new or more old, because on the one hand the old champions are what people are more comfortable with, so if people have been playing for longer, they're probably more likely to choose an old champion. But on the other hand, like, because if you're going to a big tournament and you're aiming to win, I can't imagine you to risk it all on something you barely have any practice with or experience with. You're probably more on to use something you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because on one hand, new champion, if you practice with it a lot ahead of time, you might be willing to go in with it. But on the other hand, the old champions are definitely something that you would feel familiar with. So, although I do think a lot of people are going to try the new champions solely because they have a lot of different flair to them and how they play for the old ones. The old ones sort of follow like a general consistent theme about how they move and acted, where the new ones have a lot more variety.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with, now we're getting, well, S is I'm pretty sure the first champion we've seen with that high of an energy reduction.
Yeah, with a 3 energy reduction.
Yeah. So I mean that's new. You had stated that you think that she would be seen a lot more, or played, a lot more than the other ones. I've actually found, now this is just what I've heard, is that she wasn't looked at as much because of how low her aura was because of the energy reduction. People look at aura more than they do the energy.
Well, I definitely can see people looking at the aura more, but it's because she is the champion that's not designed for aura. She's like very clearly designed to chi and like to do any of like the moves like leaping and backdropping, and heck, they released in the same set like a 13 chi card expense. It's very clearly just meant for her.
Yeah.
Like no one else is going to use it. And even then, it's a sort of big risk, big reward card.
Yeah. Let's get into your deck there, I guess, and then we can drift back to some other stuff afterwards. How much time would you say you spent building your deck?
Well, since it's very similar to last year, so I'm not gonna count last year's time for the edits. Not as long, because again, I used a lot of last year's basic like build structure to sort of determine how to add things, and then I sort of just went like, okay, what's this at the same or lower cost and value? And I definitely did a couple of shuffling around, trying to mix it up a little, because last year my deck was very repetitive for being both good and bad, because it made it so I always knew what I really was going to draw. on the downside, it made it so the opponent usually was pretty like knew all my tricks by like the third match.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I tried to definitely flavor it up and make it a lot more variety in the deck. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah, that's right. If you would like to tell us, who are you playing?
Oh, I don't mind. I'm going to be playing Nubia again this year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just because she's the one I'm most familiar with. I did test out and try with a couple of others, but I just couldn't really get anything to work as well as last year's.
Mm-hmm. To go into that, if you don't mind, who did you test out for it other than Nubia? Like, who else did you look at possibly playing?
I was debating about playing Shunj because I really like the. I can really see you abusing the breaks with him, as well as putting in a lot of cards that just either steal life or gain him life, solely for the fact that it's like you will always get an advantage with those breaks. And his own effect, even reducing his own life, even if you don't gain a life gain effect that turn, that'll still trigger the breaks and help you go a lot faster. And I feel like the agile break will really make the burn break a lot more effective.
Mm-hmm.
But I also tried messing with, I think it was Kasha, I think is her name.
The other, yeah.
And so the trick I was trying to do with her is that her ability is if you would lose life due to an ability you play, you gain one. So I was really just trying to stack the deck full of like Underworld Dealings so I can pay one, and it makes so Underworld Dealings turns into a no-cost action draw a card.
Mm-hmm.
So I filled that, say, with 30 of them. Then it makes it so the deck's only 20 any cards really matter. Then I just planned on filling it with a bunch of meteorites and a bunch of protection spells for myself. The hope of it was trying to get it so I would draw consistently into them, be able to slowly draw them, use low costing parts of the meteorites and like bolt shots to be able to keep the boards clear, draw into a protection spell, play that on myself, and then throw down like 3 meteorites at once to make it so that the enemy was at such low health, they really would have a difficulty getting close to me and really risking anything. And in some scenarios, you could just flat out win with that if you could get enough meteorites off of one turn.
Yeah.
Because you could do, if you're lucky, you could do theoretically 24 damage in one turn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've heard of that. The mass amounts. All the new cards too. Even like some of the older cards. I know people are looking at a lot, right? And they're like, yeah, these are like, really good, and they never realized the full potential of some of these cards up until now, because so much like new stuff is coming in, and it's like it supports and helps those other ones so much.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, thanks, Jeff. Yep, dissing out my favorite champion. Jeff says, "Isn't she really old by now?"
I mean, she's definitely a very popular one, but even when I played her a lot different because Angel Nubia was like an excessive popular thing. You had to really prep for it last year.
I played that.
Which is why I think, ironically, they've fallen out of grace so much, because they were so well prepped for, or sort of everyone has like an answer to them in their decks. So you're not going to really, so people are not going to really use them as much. On the other hand, someone may try and surprise people with angels, but I still feel like everyone's going to have like, some prep or some built in for any kind of aerial. Which ironically, I think is making aerial less effective.
Mm-hmm.
Because of how popular they were.
The angels have become a little less used now just because of everything else. And I'm getting nervous for this weekend. Everyone's talking strategy and testing. I basically randomly grabbed cards until I had 50 and then prayed they'd be under 250 chi.
Well, you better make sure to check that, because I think they make you have to do a deck list.
I love the way Jeff builds his timelines.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they make
grab a handful of cards, 50, pray it's 250. That sounds like me trying to build a deck.
I mean, honestly, I got Steve to help me build my first deck, and I just told him I just want to do one theme, and this is the theme. He was like, okay, then this is what we'll do. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That's all that really happened, because I wasn't going to pretend I knew a lot about Genesis back then or how to build a deck, so I just asked Steve-O, this is the theme I want to go with. What would you recommend? Mm-hmm. And that's how the deck came to be.
Yeah. I like decks that it's like you can do mass amounts of damage, but you stay back. right? Because it's like you're protected and not getting hit as much, but you're just throwing.
If I remember correctly, timeline is just another word for the deck, right?
Timeline? What's a timeline? Ah.
Or is that what they refer to the sideboard in this game? I honestly
No,
can't remember.
timeline's your actual deck. Your
Yeah, okay.
sideboard or your forethoughts. Yes. those ones.
I am hoping that if we get another set announced at this tournament, that we'll have more grave interaction or like possibly returning cards to the deck in some way, because there's no card in the deck game so far returns cards to the deck in any way, and there's like only one card that really does grave interaction. I can't think if there's any others. I mean, there's cards that definitely put them in the grave, but there's not cards that ever recover.
Oh, put them in the yeah. Okay.
There's a bunch
I
of
thought
cards
there
put
was
them
one
in, but
that
never
brought
cards that
them
return.
back, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh.
I think there's only one that brings them back,
Which one's that?
and it's the one your dad designed.
Oh, the Lich. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
Oh,
other
it's
than
my
that,
dad's own creation. I can't remember what it does. It's been a long day.
Well, there's only one.
Let's play Mac. It sounds like 50 quicksands are what you want to play Mac. Lots of distance from the damage there. Yeah.
I do feel like it's going to be very popular this year that people are going to play a lot of Beckon-based decks where they play out a lot of creatures. And last year was kind of mixed, I think, between Beckon-based decks and fighting-based decks for people who use a lot of techniques.
Yeah.
Well, last year I'm pretty sure a spellcasting deck won.
Sid's won last year. What did Sid play last year?
He played what's it called, the angel champion, and he just dumped spells out crazy.
What?
Coon Burst.
Yeah, Coon Burst.
Oh.
That's the one thing is like, despite all the new champions, Coon still has that unique advantage of being able to get that bonus move each turn, which never seems like much when you're looking at a building deck, and it's only when you're actually in a situation that you realize, oh my god, that's super useful.
Mm-hmm.
Super useful and can be super annoying depending on which side you're on.
Exactly. It's not annoying to you as the player of the deck, but to your opponent, they can find it very, very annoying. I think Sid has said he's super against graveyard res.
Yeah, I don't carry war.
I can't read.
I get
what
he's
he's
very
trying to
much
say.
against graveyard recursion, and because he's saying he's assuming someone in Magic hurt him with a graveyard recursion deck.
Poor Sid.
I mean, I can sort of understand, because a lot of Genesis cards have to do with the milling your own deck, and that's like sort of a huge cost. And the more graveyard recursion you put in, the more suddenly that becomes an advantage instead of a weakness, which is what he's really played it for. But I still feel like just like one card that say is like 15 in return a card from your grave to your hand wouldn't really break the game, because it would still be an expensive cost, and then you have to return the card and then play the card.
Yeah.
So you still have to pay that cost. If anything, you have to be really careful about putting cards from the hand or grave back into your deck, because if you made a card that was too broken, then you just have two of those cards and they would constantly be recurring each other, making it so your deck draw theoretically infinite.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's the other thing in Magic. It's like going through your deck, drawing infinite. That's
Well, that's what I meant. Like with the whole milling combination, we currently have nothing that returns cards to the deck. And that's very intentional, because as soon as you run out of cards in the deck, you lose.
Yeah.
And a lot of cards that do the milling are really those are their high costs. Those are the reason they're so costly. It's because you risk running out for your opponents.
Yeah. Well, guess to wrap things up a little bit. Sorry, it wasn't very long. We're
it's fine.
being told to wrap it up here. Very similar question to what I asked in the beginning, likes and dislikes. What are you most excited for?
Honestly, I'm most excited just to see all the different kind of aspects and unique ways decks will be built. Like, I'm hoping to see a lot of diversity in how decks are played, and maybe if we're lucky, we'll hopefully get a little preview of the champion that was made last year from the last year's winner. Or at this like how last year they sort of announced Origins. I'm hoping we'll get some kind of announcement about that, just because I'm really curious to see what the building your own champion, what that looked like in the end result.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'd be really nice.
That's one thing I hope to do someday, but there's a lot of competition for that in the tournament, so I'm not going to assume anything.
Yep. Yeah, especially Yep. So a lot that comes with that. Well, guess that concludes our interview. No zombies in the game yet, except Death Eater. Eat all the brains of the champions with your Death Eater. Well, yep, that concludes our player profile for the night. Thank you to Colin for coming on and
No problem.
being very awkwardly interviewed by the
No
very
worries.
awkward me.
I've had worse interviews.
Well, that's all right. Alrighty, well, this was One Side of the Coin. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And once again, thank you for calling. And be sure to check out www.genesisbattleofchampions.com to find out more about Genesis, card database, lore. Lore's really good. I mentioned how to play. There's a how to play on there. There is information, I'm pretty sure, about the championship on there.
Yes.
There should
I
be.
can guarantee there's information on there.
Definitely guarantee that there is information on there, so go and check that out, because that is cool too. And it's this weekend. And there is Steve the Gamer.
And we've got a special guest. Special guest on his own show.
Alrighty, well, thank you everyone for watching, and we hope you have a great night.
Bye. Hope to see you at the tournament.
Heck yes. Awkward.